Pedro Grifol is doubling down, and the Sox just can't seem to beat any team in the AL East. Let's discuss next on Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and the site expert of Southside Showdown, part of the Fansided Network. You can check out my written content at SouthsideShowdown.com, and also I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Smash the like button and also follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, leave a 5-star review. Well, the White Sox lost 5-1 to the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. It was their 6th straight loss and 10 of their past 11 games that they've been defeated in. Before the game, manager Pedro Grifol doubled down on the comments he made after Sunday's loss, and his quotes are something I need to discuss. And the Sox still have 2 more games left with the AL East foe Toronto Blue Jays, but the Yankees, Orioles, and the Jays have been just crushing the White Sox during the past 11 games. I'll get into how that is happening. And finally, let's discuss Nick Nastrini bouncing back with a decent outing, along with the hope that Andrew Benintendi isn't teasing us with his solid game yesterday. But today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Well, after getting nearly no hits on Sunday, Pedro Grifol was not happy with the team's effort, and I discussed it in detail during yesterday's show. Pretty much, he said the team was bleep word flat. Corey Lee, Danny Mendick, and Garrett Crochet, well, they disagreed with that statement, especially pointing out that it looked like, well, not specifically pointing out, but basically inferring that Grifol was ignoring Kyle Bradish being a darn good pitcher. Heck, even Jim Palmer called out Pedro Grifol. I actually wrote about it on Southside Showdown. You can check that out at SouthsideShowdown.com. And Gavin Sheets even said before yesterday's game that they just ran into a good pitcher. So you'd think with nearly 24 hours of reflection, maybe seeing what his players had to say, Pedro would reconsider his frustration. Nope. He's doubling down. He's the type of guy that would double down on getting 2 5s or something. He'd be that guy at the poker or at the blackjack table that would hit when he's showing 17. And then boom, face card. And you're just like, that was the card I needed to beat the dealer. That actually happened to me once in Vegas. I was up like $300. We were all working the table together. One of the guys is like, I got to tap out. Drunken bachelorette party sits down. And next thing you know, I'm down like $400. Anyways, here's what Pedro had to say. Scott Merkin, the MLB White Sox beat reporter, he posted it on Twitter at Scott Merkin. Grifol, quote, "You know what? I'm doubling down on what I said yesterday, okay? I thought we were flat, and that's where I'm going to leave it. We have to make adjustments today, okay? And go out there and play the game as hard as we can," end quote. Well, he didn't just leave it at that. Here's what he kept saying. And again, this is at Scott Merkin. Quote, "They have opinions. They have their opinions. I have mine. This is not divided by any means. This is not them against Pedro, Pedro against them. It's just a situation. I thought we were flat. They didn't think we were flat. They didn't think we were flat. It's over. We got to go out there and play baseball. We all have responsibility here in the major leagues to come out and give it our very best every single day. We have a responsibility to our owner." Remember that right there. We have a responsibility to our owner. Back to the quote. "We have a responsibility to this uniform that we wear, to the fans who come see us play. This is not about wins and losses. This is about the responsibility we have as individuals and as a team to come out and give the very best we have every single day. It's all about respecting the uniform, respecting the opportunity to be a major league player, a major leaguer. It's a privilege to be here. Obviously, everyone in this building has earned the right to be here, but you still got to earn the right to stay here. End quote. And Daryl Van Schouwen, the Chicago Sun-Times beat reporter, had this in his write-up. Quote, look, I'm not going to get into what flat looks like or doesn't look like. Everybody who saw the game yesterday is going to have their own opinion. I had mine, okay? It's pretty simple. I'm done with the flat. I'm done with the energy. I've already addressed it. They've addressed it. I'm not going to continue to address that. You just can't take days off. You can't do it mentally and physically. End quote. Wow. Okay, that's like doubling down when you have like two threes. Just don't do it. Stick with the six, hope for a 10, and then hope the dealer busts. And as you can see, I'm not the best blackjack player. But this is a guy who continues to play Andrew Benintendi and Andrew Vaughn every day, along with still giving Martin Maldonado at bats. He has buried young players like Dominique Fletcher and Oscar Colas. And yet he's out here espousing the right to be a everydayer. I'm not going to go into it, and then yet he goes into this diatribe. And yes, I've been in post or pregame scrums. There is follow up questions, but for a guy who says he's done with it, had a pretty lengthy response there. And to say there's no division, you had four players basically say, "Yeah, you're not right there, buddy." And especially how it does come across as I'm blaming the players. I'm not taking any responsibility for Sunday's loss. And the responsibility to the owner? You mean Jerry Reinsdorf, the man asking for tax dollars to build a stadium, a guy who's never paid a contract over $100 million, the going rate for good players, 7 playoff appearances during his ownership, the guy everyone is begging to sell the team. You have a responsibility to him? He writes the paychecks. That's all he does. Let's stop, let's stop thinking Jerry Reinsdorf, has is owed something. He owes the players that the money that he's agreed to a contract with them through his general manager Chris Getz. That's all he's owed. That's all you owe him. And yes, it's a lot of money. Go out and play the game, but it's a game of failure. You don't owe Jerry Reinsdorf a thing. I hate how people, I hate how when the baseball people or even Jerry himself says, like, you act like a fan, you're going to sit in the stands with them. You're an owner. That's what you do. You sit in the stands. And the fans have tuned you out. 14,000 people showed up yesterday on Memorial Day on a nice day. And one of the reasons I can guarantee you why they didn't show up why a lot of fans, for including me, is I don't want to see that guy manage. He's a terrible manager. I already know the product is going to be bad. One of the reasons is because of Pedro Grifol. And finally, you're Mr. Flush It. And suddenly, the team responds by, well, we're just moving on to the next one. I mean, it's nice to see that, Pedro has no more bleeps to give, but the team is reflecting that flush it attitude. If I said it yesterday on yesterday's show. If Pedro had been showing this displeasure maybe last May, I would say, great, way to play that card. But we're now 2 Mays into his managerial tenure of him just being flush it, moving on, flush it, moving on. I mean, and you could say, it's no Pedro versus the team. But when you got players basically defending themselves, saying, look, we ran into a buzzsaw on Sunday. It's baseball, Mr. It's baseball. Why are you going off on us? And on the flip side, yes, it would be nice that the players did say, maybe we could have done better at our bats, Danny Mendick or Corey Lee saying that. But to just completely ignore what Bradish did out there, that's disrespectful to the Orioles, and that's disrespectful to the game. But hey, losing will create frustration, And let's get into what is crushing the White Sox over the past 11 games next on Locked On White Sox. Hey, with Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They're doing all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. And speaking of needing an updated wardrobe, I think I need to go to stitchfix.com. Why? Well, I still think cargo shorts are stylish. I wore a sport coat to an event last Saturday, and my wife actually said I looked handsome. I haven't heard that because I normally rock t shirts and cargo shorts. Stitch Fix looks appealing because they easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new, on trend favorites that will work for you. Just give a stylist your size, style, and budget preferences. You order boxes when you want and how you want, no subscription required, and they send you 5 just for you pieces plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advance. Keep what works, send back the rest. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And game two of a three-game set between the White Sox and the Blue Jays is tonight. First pitch is scheduled for 6:40 p.m. Central. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. And thank you for making the show your first listen. Lots of great White Sox podcasts out there. As always, I just hope I'm the first one you take in. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Smash the like button. Also follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, leave a 5-star review. Well, the White Sox are playing a brutal 39 game stretch of schedule. And I've talked about it. I talked about it a bunch last week. It's been kicked off with a 13-game stretch against the Yankees, Orioles, and Blue Jays, with obviously 2 more games of this 13-game stretch left to be played today and tomorrow against the Blue Jays. But so far, the Sox are 1-11. Or no, 1-10. I'm sorry. The Sox are 1-10. I had to do the math in my head. I apologize for that. The Sox are 1-10. And that has returned the Sox to being historically bad instead of fun bad or just normal bad. Fangraphs now has the Sox on pace to finish 59-103 with a minus 211 run differential. And a few things have been evident as to why the White Sox are getting crushed by these 3 teams. And it goes beyond the talent disparity. First, the Sox are losing the home run battle. The Blue Jays crushed 3 home runs yesterday, including 2 multi-run dingers. Sox hit just 1, and it was a solo shot by Gavin Sheets. Against the Orioles on Saturday, Sox had a 3-0 lead heading into the 8th, and it was gone in an instant after Baltimore crushes 3 homers. And the Yankees and the Orioles are the 2 best home run hitting teams, but the Blue Jays are 22nd. And they've had no problem hitting the long ball against the White Sox. The Sox are dead last in homers. And never before has the Southsiders' inability to hit the long ball been more evident. They just cannot get that instant offense. I mean, no lead was safe with the Orioles over the weekend because they can launch the ball. Just like that, boom, 5-3. Just like that, boom, 6-4. Just like that, boom, they're down 8-2 and you have to rally. The Sox cannot get the ball over the fence in a home run hitter friendly ballpark. I had somebody ask on X, formerly Twitter, through the Lockdown Sox, like, when was the last time the White Sox were in the top 10 in home run hitting? 2014, if you count a full 162 game season. 2020, with the abbreviated season, they were in the top 10. But again, you play in a home run hitting friendly ballpark and you can't be in the top 10 in home runs. The roster construction has just been terrible the past 10 years. Runners in scoring position. The Sox just cannot cash in on those opportunities. While the Orioles, Yankees, and Jays, they were finding ways. For example, the Sox were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position yesterday, and they out hit the Blue Jays 10-6. Sox left 11 runners on base, and they started the game with bases loaded, came away with no runs. Last Thursday, you had that controversial finish. Could have been avoided had the Sox not come away with just a single run with bases loaded. When you're playing better teams, you have to cash in those opportunities to make up for the talent disparity. You have to be able to win in the margins. The bullpen got blown up by the Orioles, and the starting rotation after Eric Fetty and Garrett Crochet has been weak against the Yankees, Orioles, and Jays. And in both instances, for both, walks have just been a killer. They can't keep giving these offenses free bases because it's led to being outscored 63-30 during this 11-game stretch. No wonder why you've only won one game. One. Well, there were some positives in yesterday's game for the White Sox. Rookie Nick Nastrini showed resiliency, and Andrew Benintendi had a nice game. Let's discuss those two performances next. Lockdown White Sox. There's no better way to enjoy baseball than at the ballpark. You can actually appreciate just how talented these players are, just how impressive a home run is when it's hit live, right in front of your face. The White Sox are not good in the field, but Guaranteed Rate still has great food. And go get some good food and see Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. try to hit some home runs for as low as $3 right now on the app. Section 520, row 11, 2 seats, $3 a piece. The upper deck has prices for $5, $6, and $7 right now. With Game Time, you could save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater performances. The price you see on Game Time is all the costs up front. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And what I really like about Game Time is the panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And game 2 of a 3-game set between the White Sox and the Blue Jays is tonight. First pitch is scheduled for 6:40 p.m. Central. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back into Lockdown White Sox. Glad that you've stayed with me so far. Apologize for the early when I said the Sox were 1-11. They're 1-10, obviously. Got to get better at that math. But hey, I was a broadcast major. I was told there was no math in that. Hope you had a good Memorial Day. Mine was all right. Grilled out. Spent some time with my daughter and my wife. Hope your grilling was good. Speaking of good, it was good to see Nick Nastrini bounce back. against the Blue Jays as he got another shot at them after he was roughed up last Wednesday. He gave up 9 runs in 3 1/3 innings last Wednesday in Toronto. 9 runs, 9 times. He wasn't dominant, but he wasn't destroyed out there. Went 5 innings, 3 runs, 3 hits, 4 walks, 5 Ks, 2 home runs. Not bad. Even made Pitching Ninja on X, formerly Twitter, at Pitching Ninja, with a wicked slider. And Nastrini, this is from Daryl Van Scouren, said, quote, "There was some good, some bad, some things I've got to work on. Walks definitely need to come down, but I executed pitches when I had to," end quote. And that was good to see. He responded. Getting blown up is going to happen. It's part of the learning process. I keep saying that. I know I sound like a broken record, but the season is lost. The Sox should be seeing what they have from the farm system left over from Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams. And Nick Nastrini is one of those guys. He was acquired in that Lance Lynn deal. But him getting blown out, something is gained because it gives him something to work on and show that he can bounce back and learn from. And guess what? He did. Now he might be nothing more than a 4th or 5th starter. I think his ceiling could be a decent number 3 with his stuff, but he's definitely a guy that can be that has the stuff to be an effective starting pitcher under team control for lots of years, and that helps immensely, especially when you have a cheap owner who doesn't like to pay pitchers. But it was good to see that he was, because he was facing the same lineup, that crushed him for 9 runs, and he comes back and he only gives up 3. Now tonight we get Mike Clevenger, who, if he can't go at least 5 or gets roughed up, nothing is gained. He is what he is at this point. Nastrini, you can mold. And that's why, again, I keep harping that this front office and Pedro need to stop this madness with Mike Clevenger. Bring up Jonathan Cannon, as he should be going through the same development plan as Nick Nastrini. And Nastrini, yeah, he needs to work on that command. He has 10 walks in his last 2 starts. And he has to figure out how to get the ball hit on the ground more. He has 21 fly balls in his last 2 starts, with 3 of them going over the fence. Well, he's given up 3 home run balls. But at least he knows what he has to work on. Commanding his pitches better. Not giving up those free passes. Limiting the long ball. Limiting the ball going into the air. And he gave you 5 innings. Now let's see if he can give you 6. Andrew Benintendi, he was 3 for 4. And on Sunday, he actually reached base twice with 2 walks. So is this finally the game that spurs the player with the worst OPS in baseball to get off this slide? Now we're past Memorial Day. We're pretty much at the point where you kind of have to say this is going to be a bad season for Andrew Benintendi. But he's teased us before. He had that 3-hit game back on April 27th when he crushed 2 home runs against the Tampa Bay Rays, one of them being the walk-off home run, and he had 6 RBIs. And that was the brief glimmer of hope that he was coming out of that slump. He picked up hits over the next 3 games, only to fall back into being terrible. This has to be the last stand for him to be avoiding being completely awful this year. Because right now, he, along with his fellow Andrew Vaughn, are killing this lineup. Benintendi is dead last in OPS. He ranks 154 out of players that are qualified to be ranked. He has a 501 OPS. Vaughn is 148th at 569. Andrew Benintendi, yeah, he's a minus 1.6 F4 player with a WRC plus of 41. Vaughn is minus 0.9 F4, 63 WRC plus. But if Benintendi can take this game and maybe catapult to at least getting his OPS over 600, still not good, but within the next week or so, then you at least will have a struggling player. Not a it'll still be a bad season, but it will be struggling because right now he's just awful. And it's sad to say that we have to have a player with the richest free agent contract in franchise history to just be like, get back to struggling. But we've been fooled before by Benintendi. This has got to be his last stand within the next week or so. If he can't improve his numbers, if he can't at least get a couple hits, maybe have a stretch where he's hitting, has a slash line over the next like 2 weeks over 250, 340, 300 even. You really have to seriously consider platooning him for the rest of the year and just have him start working on tweaks to his swing to see if he can get back next season because you're stuck with him. He's owed $49 million. Jerry's not going to write a check to make him go away. Well, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Before I go, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And I'll be back tomorrow to discuss how game 2 of this 3-game series went with the Blue Jays. Plus, it's way back Wednesday. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page at Locked On White Sox. Smash the like button and give a 5-star review on wherever you get your podcasts. And let me know your thoughts on today's topics regarding Pedro Grifol doubling down, why the AL East is destroying the Sox, and Nick Nastrini bouncing back with his start yesterday. You can leave them at Twitter at ToddJDub or email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.